In south-central Kentucky lies Mammoth Cave. Stretching for over 400 miles, it is the longest mapped cave system in the world. This unique area is a biosphere region, recognized internationally in the World Network of Biosphere Reserves. The biosphere region is a mosaic of caves, springs, and sinkholes, created by water in a vast geologic formation called karst.
Karst is a term that's used for a landscape that is underlain by soluble bedrock. And here in Mammoth Cave, that's limestone. What this means is rainfall or precipitation falls upon that karst landscape, it can quickly enter the subsurface. It is one of the reasons our water resources are vulnerable in karst areas to the activities that we do on the surface.
The key is protecting groundwater from pollution.
Crawford Hydrology Lab is a research lab at Western Kentucky University where we specialize in groundwater tracing. And we do this using fluorescent dyes. And so this is often applied for solving environmental problems. I've spent my childhood in these fields and forests and also in Mammoth Cave and on the Green River. One really important thing to me was to live more sustainably on this place that I love. I think the Biosphere program is a great way to do that and to bring people together and find solutions.
My name is David Foster. Well, I live right here in Horse Cave, Kentucky. I've been here for a little over 30 years. This is one of the world's great karst areas. I'm on the advisory committee for the Mammoth Cave Biosphere Region. A lot of our work for the last 20 years has been trying to make sure that what goes into the ground is clean and doesn't pollute and contaminate the underground caves. Well, when we came to Horse Cave the first time, there was a horrible odor that was coming out of the entrance. The cave had been closed in 1943. It wasn't until 1989 when we were finally able to get together on a regional sewer treatment system that stopped the dumping of all that toxic sludge into the Hidden River Cave groundwater system. The odor went away first. And then we started to see the cave life come back. And to our amazement, we had gone from being one of the most polluted caves in America, and perhaps in the world, to one of the most biologically diverse caves. We were able to turn it into a tourist attraction for the community. We were able to provide educational programs for school kids. And the great thing about that whole story is that by building the sewage infrastructure to protect the cave, this town actually got more economic development. The more people that come here, the more people want to see the cave protected.
The early recorded explorers of Mammoth Cave were enslaved African Americans. They lived a double life, gaining respect as tour guides in the cave, yet persecuted in their daily existence above ground. Jerry Bransford is a park guide at Mammoth Cave National Park. His ancestor, Matt Bransford, was one of these men. Knowledge of Mammoth Cave helped Nick buy his freedom papers.
Nick and Matt, of course Matt's my great-great-grandfather, he and He and Matt were brought here as brothers, but we found out in later years that they really weren't blood kin. They only had in common their owner's last name. Well, by 1863, 3 of his brother's children were sold, and of course at that time we thought it was Matt, my great-great-grandfather, and old folks told me that Nick was a little bit disgusted and hurt that they worked so hard for the old boss, and he sold 3 of my brother's children. So he approached Thomas Bransford, his owner, about getting his freedom papers. And Thomas said, "Nick, you raise me $400, I'll set you free." So Nick would tour guide during the day. He'd go back down that cave at night. He heard Stephen say, if you dip your hat in that water to get a cool drink, sometimes eyeless creatures would come up. Eyeless creatures, translucent crawfish. And he found out that people would give a nickel or a dime for these things as keepsakes. So he was 7 years raising $400. I was born and raised a little community a little east of here called Glasgow, Kentucky. I graduated from Glasgow High School in 1965. I was actually in the first integrated school class in 1964 in September. 9 black kids integrated the all-white school in 1964, and I was one of the 9 experimental kids. A few days I'll be 74 years old, so I'm glad to be here. I could go in the cave every day and see something new every time.
Hiking trails, waterways, and Kentucky trail towns offer opportunities to explore the Mammoth Cave Biosphere Region.
My name is Chelsea Ballard. So I grew up in Horse Cave, Kentucky, just very close to Mammoth Cave National Park. Before I entered middle school, my sisters and I had begged my dad to take us on the river, and so finally one summer day we rented a canoe and the 3 of us went on about a 4-mile stretch, and ever since then I've been hooked on it. The way I would describe Green River is by simply just the beauty of the Green River Valley. You get the cliffs in some areas. You also get various colors on the river. Of course, the green can come from the limestone itself. You'll see various springs, blue holes, mussels to bald eagles. It's just a nice, relaxing type of kayaking trip. We live in an area that is highly prone to pollution concerns. I think the reason why we should care about that because all of this eventually leads to our river system, which is where we do receive our drinking water source from.
The Biosphere Region Advisory Council brings together people and organizations to improve the economic and cultural well-being of local people in ways that protect water quality.
My name is Andy Alford. I'm from Cleveland, Kentucky. Someone in my family's been farming here since the 1800s, and we're right on the door of Mammoth Cave National Park. My initial thoughts on the Biosphere Reserve is that it's a good thing to protect this area and the land, and agriculture needs to be a huge part of that. We farm corn, soybeans, and wheat. We use grass waterways anywhere that water may run. We leave those for the water to flow through, and it slows down erosion and it acts as a buffer strip. So if there is any fertilizer that washes out of the field, you know, that buffer strip's going to catch it and keep it from getting into the rivers. To leave the ground, the land, better than the way that I found it is very important to me.
The Advisory Council has been long-standing, you know, since the late 90s. And there's been a lot of progress made bringing these stakeholders together and identifying what our needs are in ways that will improve the quality of life of the residents in the Biosphere Reserve, as well as protect the environment. Groundwater is really what connects all of us.